So a few days ago, the top influencer in Singapore, Kelvin Learns Investing, has just released another video, causing ruckus in investing community, where he talked about Tesla stock being in free fall and what's his plan moving forward. So I've quickly summarized the video of what he's talking about, and mainly it revolves around four key topics. Firstly, it's deteriorating fundamentals of Tesla. Secondly, the negative public sentiments. Thirdly, the lack of urgency in innovation. And lastly, the general overvaluation of the stock today. So I think since we already have Kelvin on here, let's try to confront him in his entire thought process and what was his exact moves after selling out of his Tesla position. So maybe we'll give Kelvin first a chance to express or to finish up the discussion around do you have anything else that you want to add specific to Tesla's fundamentals and how you're looking at this investment today?
Actually, this whole Tesla thing, the more I look into it, the harder it is to like determine what is the truth, right? So okay, you can say okay, Tesla, their car sales have dropped, but on the other hand, you see those Tesla subs, they'll say, oh, it's because Tesla has a new refresh Model Y coming out. Therefore, people are waiting for the new car. Therefore, the old car sales is dropping. Then on the other hand, you see news saying that a lot of people are boycotting Tesla in the US, in Germany, in Europe. Then on the other hand, you see news saying that actually Europe it's not as bad as we think because there's a new survey coming out that came out that says it's not that bad. Then in US, probably the news is only like reporting the certain specific protests, but actually on the overall, maybe people aren't protesting that bad. It's only in certain places where people are targeting Tesla. So the news is very like conflicting. But I think what's the fact? The fact is that Tesla's fundamentals did deteriorate lah. So like their gross margin has slowed down, their growth rate has slowed down, and it's not on just one quarter, it's on already like 2 years kind of thing. Then Elon Musk, I don't know. At this point, I feel like he's just an extra to the company. Then when I see the subs, they'll say, oh, maybe we should remove Elon Musk. But I think this whole Tesla investor, you can call it cults lah. The investor into Tesla is because of Elon Musk lah. So the moment you remove him, Tesla will just become just another like it's a non-cult kind of company. Then you get a much lower price kind of thing. The price will collapse lah because they say, oh, there's no more visionary in the company or something like that. So everything is very conflicting lah. So on my end, I would just look at the fundamentals and say, oh, it's deteriorating. I don't feel comfortable holding it, even if the future looks very bright. So I say, oh, I'll just get off the train and see what happens after that.
Can you clarify, like really, as of now, you've already sold all your holdings, right?
Yeah,
Or
I just
do you
sold
keep
all
some?
lah. I just sold all because it's quite overvalued. It doesn't make sense like Tesla is trading at this price. Because when you look at the bulls, a lot of people who hold Tesla, they say, oh, Tesla is undervalued, right? But undervalued based on what? Undervalued based on future that has not come true yet, or undervalued based on current fundamentals. So to me, it's a bit very weird lah. Like this whole FSD, robotaxi, the robot thing, all of it, none of it is out yet. Then they say it's undervalued. In that case, you can say every company is undervalued already. Right? Like Alibaba could be undervalued, which is both right now and in the future. Or Nvidia is undervalued because I don't know, they will take over the world and something like that. So it's very weird lah. It's only like Tesla is being valued like this, while other companies are not being held under the same scrutiny. Yeah.
But how long have you been with the company I invested? I think you also invested since Chicken Genius time, right? Which is I think probably 4-5 years already. That was the
4-5
time frame,
years.
right?
Correct.
And during those period, I recall like even the sales slowdown also is not like recent month, right? I think they already, their sales went up quite fair. Like the growth was quite high during 2020, 2021 period, right? Then after that, I think since recent 1 year or so or 2 years, they already slowed down, right? But why haven't you sold your positions like 1 year or 2 years earlier? Why now, basically?
Why now? Good question. Like back then, I was still giving it a chance. I said because the idea was that so initially the rationale for it to go down was that because the interest rate gone up, therefore people cars are more expensive, therefore people are buying lesser cars. But then you see every other car company is selling more cars now. Okay, then you say, oh, because Tesla is a premium brand, BYD is cheaper, therefore people will buy BYD. Then the second thing comes in, like why hasn't Tesla come out with their budget model yet? Okay, like I know it's coming out this year, but why is Tesla moving so slow? It's like they don't care about the progress of the company. It's like there's no urgency, lor. So that's the other thing. Tesla is it feels very different from the Tesla that I bought 3 years ago, lah. I mean, there's progress, but the progress seems very slow.
But
Yeah.
just on the cheaper price car, right? I think remember, like let's say 2 years or 3 years ago, the average price was quite high for their cars, right? Then after that, they keep on slashing the price. I think partly also because the production cost is lower, so they're able to cut cost hitting profit too much, right? Yes, there's some impact. Then after that, they just realized that, oh, since I already cut the price of my existing car, so there's no more point to, like launch another model that's even cheaper, right? So that's why they kind of like delayed that effort to this year. So that's why I would say that even if talking about like the cheaper price actually is on the market already, the current model is the cheaper price already. So I think that partly address the issues of like, car is too expensive now. Don't you think so?
Yeah. Actually, I just saw a news that Tesla just raised their price for Model Y in China. So that's another conflicting thing altogether, lah. Yeah. So when I saw all those bull theses, right, they say, okay, Tesla will have Tesla Taxi coming in June this year. They will sell budget model soon. But then it's like there's something in between, because like people have lost faith in Tesla. When you see other people burning their Tesla, other people burning other people's Tesla, are you going to dare to buy Tesla in the US? But like I said again, like, it's probably just the news that is like making this whole thing look a lot worse than it is, lah.
Yeah. Let me address also on the price adjustment, because I think this is also quite, explained quite well by others, because the way they price their product is not like they have a fixed price, right? It's always adjusting the price up and down depending on the numbers of cars that they have, that basically the inventory versus the demand. So let's say if for some seasonal reason, let's say not many people buying, then they will just lower the price and just clear out the inventory. But let's say if during certain period there's more demand, or let's say for example like the new Model Y refresh, they have to cut down their productions temporarily, right? In that cases, maybe they have to hike the price. So I think all these adjustment up and down is common. Like they have it even different markets. Sometimes one market can up, another market can come down. So it's just normal thing. It's just that, okay, the price adjustment is just up, like running business as usual. But with the moment some people say that, oh, the price go up already, okay, they just write an article to say something bad about it. Price drop also write article to say, they can portray it as a negative, just to support their thesis, right? Don't you think that you are, a bit influenced by all these news agency when it comes to your evaluations of the company?
I think my thesis for this is just Tesla fundamentals. Tesla valuation doesn't make sense, lah. Like I can tell that the news is, there's a direct attack on Tesla and the whole brand. I don't know what is it all about. But I know Tesla, the future is still bright. So if Tesla ever drop back to $100 plus range, I'll just add back in. You can call that timing the market. I don't know. But it doesn't make sense right now.
Actually, I would add also, when Bunti asked what's the trigger point and when the whole growth of the company actually slowed down compared to the last 3 to 4 years, right? I think there's a difference between when your base is big and it starts slowing down versus when what happened recently, when you are really going at like flat year on year, meaning there's like literally zero, even negative growth, at least for the automobile business. Let's not talk about the rest. But you're looking at it in general, I think when from I just put out the numbers, right? From 21, 22, you are at 50, 70%. We know that it's high. Not every company is like Nvidia that can keep doing this kind of three-digit growth. But when it comes down, it slowed down to around 18.8 in 2023, and then it goes down to like flat in 2024. So that's a very big difference when you compare still growing at 20% versus going in negative growth rate lah. I guess that's the stark contrast that we're trying to bring here. But maybe my question also to Kelvin is that there are two questions that probably everybody want to know: is after you sell Tesla, at the end of the day, do you actually make money? And secondly, is this large sum of money, where do you allocate it to? Like in terms of your portfolio breakdown, are you okay to share your current? How does it look like in terms of percentage?
Make money got lah. I've been selling covered calls. Actually, one of the reason I didn't sell back when it was $400 was because I gonna caught in this covered call thing. So Tesla, I think rallied from, was it 200 plus all the way to 400 within just like 1 month. Then when you sell a covered call, you are selling like 0.2 delta, something like that. Yeah, I forgot. My math a bit haywire now. So I was selling at like $250 covered call strike. Then it showed up. My covered call got into the money. So I have to keep rolling out. So at one point, my Tesla, the covered call was rolled all the way to like next year, 2020, end of 2025, at like $300 plus strike price. So like, okay, I have this covered call. It's super in the money. I can't get out. So I was just waiting for the price to go back down because I know this is very unsustainable. The price shooting up is just based on Trump winning and nothing else. So you wait for it to come back down to $300 range. So once I get out of my covered call, okay, it's time to look into Tesla. It's time, should I still hold it or what? Because it has been over 1 year since I looked into the stock. Okay, now when I look at it, it's a bit, doesn't make sense now. Okay, so that's why when I decide to trim it lah. As to your question, did I make money? I think got lah. My cost price for Tesla is quite, I wouldn't say quite low. It's low, like it's low $200. Not to mention that I've been selling covered calls on this Tesla for like 4 years now. More or less got make money lah. Then as to where I'm allocating it, now it's just like STHG, Triple Q. These two names lah. I will just faster pop back in because I don't want to time the market lah. Before if the stock suddenly goes up there, I end up like missing out on a lot of things. So just trying to, every day I'm putting back in like 50K. So now it's like almost 30% done. So I've got a few more days to buy back in. Yeah.
So from what I'm hearing now, becomes all you completely only have ETF exposure.
Not all, got individual names. I bought some. I bought Palantir. I don't know. Chicken will like roll the eye. It's just a very small position, like 3-4K only. I'm okay for it.
Percentage wise?
Wow, it's only like 0 point something bar.
Okay, so it's not even 1%.
It's not even 1%.
Many of these. Okay, understand.
Yeah. It's more to have a feel of the stock first lah. Not to have a big position, not to have a big stake.
Okay.
Then also rolling. Actually, I'm selling some puts on just the big names like Google, Amazon. These two I know is super undervalued now. Not super undervalued. It's undervalued now. So I'm okay to buy the stock. So I just sold some put. I think the other day I just got allocate this Google stock. So next is Amazon to hold. Yeah.
When you say undervalued, what are you referring to? Are you just looking at PE? PE is low?
No lah, okay. For transparency sake, I don't know how to calculate all these things lah. I'm also quite lazy, so I just refer to like Guru Focus, to was it Morningstar? Yeah, I think so. That I just get their average price, then decide from there. Yeah, I also look at Adam Kula sometimes. So their value are quite close sometimes. So from there, just see, they say undervalued. Okay, just buy.
So how much role that Elon politics play when it comes to these decisions? Like let's say, imagine that if Elon just stay away from politics, no Doge, right? Continue just run as the CEO, just like what happened during last year, right? So I believe in that case there will be not much all these protests, all this reaction to his political stuff, right? Will you still keep holding? Or really this is driven by all this noise and all these attacks?
Good question. I have no idea. Depends what's the valuation. Like I said, my decision wasn't based on Elon or whatever. It's just based on the valuation right now. So, yeah, whatever Elon does, Elon is still bullish on Tesla, by the way. And actually, I sort of understand what he is doing lah. You know that that Nazi thing. Some people say it's Nazi. Some people say what is heartfelt thanks. I don't know, but I think it's just his. I would say his condition lah. Because he's a bit like he has a bit of autism, and you see his Twitter posts. So someone go and analyze his Twitter post kind of thing. He's posting like 24 hours a day. Like people like he's not even sleeping. So I think he has a bit of condition. He's taking medication for that. He has depression, all sorts of things. So his whole idea is like, okay, I want to solve problems. I want to save the world, that kind of thing. And sometimes when you have that condition, you do things that piss other people off, whether intentionally or not intentionally. So I think he's just what he is since the start. Probably he has now gone a bit more depressed. that's why he looks a bit more off the rails than usual. Yeah. But I think he still has the company's he's still thinking about the company. He hasn't abandoned it yet.
So Bunti, as a fellow Tesla investor, you are not phased at all when sitting through this 100 to 200 to 400, come back down to 200, then who knows where it's going to go. All these noise, people burn Tesla, growth rate suddenly go negative. All these are none of your concern.
I think some concerns are legit. Say, for example, let's say the slowdown, right? The slowdown part, I think, is not new. It's not this. I'm not talking about the February European car sales numbers. I'm referring to the overall growth slowdown that you just mentioned, right? Which has already happened since at least 2 years ago. And I can understand why, like what leads to this, because I think alternatively, right, is that they can just keep on pressing the car prices down, right? Then they are able to compete at cheaper price range. I think growth can be higher, but the price is that if you keep doing that, right, your margins will have to bring down even more, right? So if you look at their margin number, actually it was quite healthy. This is an industry that is heavy on capex, heavy on all this investment, and Elon trying to solve the FSD, also spending a lot of money on all these data center kind of infrastructure, right? So there's all those spending. If they just keep on spending like this, and then the car price keep bringing down, then what happened is that they have to get some financing in order to keep the companies running, right? So they didn't do that. So what they did is that they just keep the price at this current level, so still maintaining the premium brand, right? It's already quite cheap. It's just that they are not bringing down the margin by another 5 or 10%. So to make it like at least on the cash flow basis is more sustainable, and just hope that while they are doing this, they will take the time to really solve the FSD, and the FSD will bring the company to the next level. So that's what they are doing, at least for now, and maybe in the next few years or so. So I think, like, I agree with Kelvin on the valuations part. If you just look at the company based on PE, based on valuation, those numbers, right? I also mentioned already that these companies' valuations cannot, if you just look at their growth, look at the PE, they are overvalued. It's just that the investor are not betting on the fundamentals number. They're betting on the companies entering a next phase, right? Which is the robotaxi phase. So I think Ron Barron's, right, in his interview, he also mentioned, like, after this FSD is solved, right, every car that they make, right, they don't even need to sell it. They just let it run around and then fetching papers, and then just become a car companies and Uber companies, right? So that one can actually give them a lot higher revenues and margins as compared to just selling cars. So at least that's the plan.
But there are two parts to this when you're explaining the story, right? Firstly is what's the timeline? Because nobody knows, and how long would you give them benefit of doubt, or at least how long investors are willing to give them benefit of doubt? And secondly is why only Tesla will win, or why would the value be accrued to Tesla? When I presume that they are not the only one. I mean, you have your China alternatives, you have Google inside as well, and I see Nvidia also partnering with all these other car makers. So would it become another, I don't know, another airline industry where everybody's pouring so much money, but actually the benefit only go to the consumer rather than the company being able to retain value to justify this large valuation today?
I won't split this by geography. I won't split like, US self-driving company versus China versus there's only just Tesla, and then the others that are not Tesla, for example, like Waymo, AutoX, all these Baidu, all these, they are all same kind of technology that they're using. They're using LiDAR, they're using geofencing. So this is a second group. If you compare Tesla versus them, right, and you look at their tractions as of today, right, actually this other group, right, is actually doing much better. Say, for example, Waymo, they already ramped up their autonomous vehicles quite a significant numbers, because I think up until late last year, they are kind of like slow moving and then just make sure that things are working. Then it's just starting like recent 6 months or 1 year, they start to ramp up their numbers of cars, right? So let's say if you are staying in US, I think you can just, at least for those like big cities that already roll out, right? You can take the self-driving car as like just book the car, go somewhere, use it as Uber. I think that's quite common already. It's not like just 5,000, 10,000 kind of cars. I think it's already at tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of self-driving cars running around. But what's the difference between Tesla versus this group? Like there are those that are using LiDAR, right? Is that I think the car production is entirely different. The cost. Because for Tesla, they are not using all this expensive LiDAR to run, and they don't need the expensive geofencing to run. So as long as the brain is mature enough to run autonomously, right, like the true FSD, right, then actually their cost is actually much lower. And when the cost is lower, actually, I believe it will be like they will take a huge market share from this place. I mean, the ride-hailing business. But in terms of timeline, hard to say. Those who are optimistic will say that, oh, it's already, June this year, they will roll out. If you ask me, I would say, yeah, I will just hope that there will be some traction, continuous traction over the next 3 years. Then if we see something that is really so-called done, right, in 3 years' time, I'm still happy because it will be huge, Yeah. It's just different way of attacking this industry.
I think Tesla just got some ride-hailing permit in California, right? I think last week or something like that.
I think not the ride-hailing one. That one just allowed them to fetch their
Correct.
own employees.
Yeah, so then someone pointed out that actually Waymo had that license since like 2017. So
Yeah.
you see, it's like 8 years kind of gap already between Tesla and like Waymo. But then you can say, okay, Tesla maybe has the president backing them, therefore they can probably move a lot faster. So yeah, but so that's the gap right now. I think you can't deny that gap.
Actually, I'm very curious. It sounds to me like when this whole conversation that we had for the last 10, 15 minutes, right? I can feel in the vibes, right? That Kelvin suddenly turned into a Tesla bear. Then Bunti is still hanging on, right? I really wanted to know, like, what was there any key trigger or major trigger on why Kelvin changed your opinion, like 180?
I'm
Like,
not
other
a
than
Tesla
valuation,
bear. Okay, I'm not a
maybe you
Tesla
can
bear.
maybe you can have Bunti to explain also. What's your feeling or thoughts? Then before you allow Kelvin to explain.
If you ask me, I don't have much, change of mind. Whatever I said, right? Without Kelvin selling, right? You ask me, I will just continue to say the same thing, and we all repeat all these things for quite a while already. But what is new? Let's say in the recent 2 months, right? I would say the new thing is that since the price peak at don't know what close to $500 now down to 200 plus, right? I think what's new is I can see that there's a lot of attack on Tesla. One example is the Mark, what's his name? Mark for the YouTube video
Robber.
that's Mark Rober. Okay, so he basically produced a video to say that, oh, I'm comparing Tesla self-driving versus the other cars that's using LiDAR. So basically he's trying to say that, oh, without the LiDAR, actually the car don't know there's a wall in front and they will just crash it, right? So it is a promotion or it's a advertisement for Lumina, which is a LiDAR companies, right? So I think I see that as a form of attack, because all these things are known one. It's not new. Some more they are the guy is just using the autopilot and not the FSD. While we know that all Tesla effort is really developing the FSD, not the autopilot, right? So I think all these things, right, is really planned to attack. And why there's so much attack on Tesla at this moment, I think the politics is definitely one of the leading reason. But aside from that, right, I believe that there are many, so-called hedge funds or all these peoples with money, right? They like to do these kind of things like that. Whenever there's one or two attacks, right, the rest will jump onto attack because they just want to ride on the, short the stocks down, and they just want to profit from it. So that's why all this negativity, right, it will keep on coming. So once you have more negative, they will just take that opportunity to throw more shits into that. Just want to take the short profit. After that, then once they, let's say the price can go down to 200, 150, I don't know what level it will bottom, right? Once they short the companies and get their profit already, they will buy back and close their positions and they will do something else. Then you will see that all this news, all this attack will slow down already. Because in order for them to profit, right, they need the stock price to go up again. Then after that, you just wait for the negative news, and then you repeat the same thing again, including the FT articles that talk about Tesla accounting got some funny things, right? The one I really go and study in details. I'm not accounting expert, right? But I saw that all these things is like they try very hard to find certain things that is, for example, not 100% clear, and they just make up their story, and then they just mix some facts and some stories of their own. And if they can find things that is not easy to explain to people, that's even better, because they will just say, oh, you see, Tesla, their accounting 1.4 billion missing. And I would say that out of 100 people that saw the articles, right, probably 99 people will just say, "You're really, I think Tesla accounting got problem." Then they will just, like being influenced by that negative sentiments. So I see this kind of attacks is like everywhere, and just like, concentrate in this short period of time now. So that's why I'm at least short term, I'm actually quite bullish on the company. Just riding on these things cool down, then it will revert. Yeah. So that's my view.
Kelvin, the catalyst or transition on why?
It's just the valuation. Long term, I'm still bullish. Like, you give me Tesla at $100 now, I will just all in plus margin plus call option on it.
This one we'll tap it out. Make sure that when it hits 100, you all in margin and options.
I think a while ago I did some like lips. Then people ask, oh, why haven't you used lips on Tesla yet? Like, you have to have a good price, right? You have to know yet that is at a good price before you buy lips, right? Otherwise, if it goes down, your loss will be amplified. Okay, I know the loss is capped, but it's still amplified. So like Tesla right now, it's just the price doesn't make sense, but the future I'm still bullish. Like, everything is progressing nicely lah. The energy, the FSD, even though it's slow, it's still progressing. Everything is progressing lah. Even though people say, oh, when is it coming out? Like, you give it like 10 years, it still can't come out yet. Like, yes, already progressed in the getting a license for the self-driving car thing. Even though it's not self-driving car yet, but there's still progress already. So like, everything is moving on nicely lah, even though there's a lot of hate and whatnot. I think a lot of these are just like attacks, like what Punti said. Then when the attacks die out, everything will just like go back out. Yeah. But for now, it doesn't make sense to me to hold yet lah.
But this idea of progressing, right, is a bit fluffy in the concept where you can't falsify, because all you have to say is I'm better than myself last year. But how do I get, or at least from people, at least my type of persona would be that I want to see revenue, I want to see income, I want to see growth. So as long as it doesn't hit the income statement, to me everything is just we la kopi in coffee shop can already. Meaning we all just talk out and then sounds great, vision based drive, full self-driving is good market, can ability to scale, they will win all these other competitors. But as long as it doesn't derive any value, then okay you can continue believing and progressing, but it doesn't accrue anything to shareholders at the end of the day.
It will accrue, because say for example, right, you just need to reason from the fundamentals, right? So say for example, the first thing you need to believe is that it will work or not. Because if we talk about all these things, I believe it will work. By working, I mean at some point, let's say 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, at some point it will work. Because if 15 years later still cannot work, right, then the whole thesis gone already. It's zero. It worth zero, right? So that one is clear.
But why 15 years? Why not?
15 years is just too long, right? Because if you just put your money in index 15 years later, you probably at least already double or triple your money, right? But if you bet on something that doesn't work for 15 years, that means there's no value because the value needs to come, and it shouldn't take like 15 years, you know. And when I say these things will work, I'm actually expecting it will work within a couple of years. 2 years, 3 years, fine. 4 years, fine. But when 10 plus years, that's different story, right? I don't want to bet so far ahead also. Okay, so now if you establish that it will work at some point, right? Then the question is that, okay, already worked, then what's the cost of delivering all this? Then you need to look at the cost, the cost structure of them. For Tesla, I think the strength is like they have their own factories. Their cars is like they basically can sell their car to themselves at cost, right? So the car itself is already cheaper. All the LiDAR sensors they don't need is already cheaper. Camera is very cheap. So the most expensive thing is their brain, which already developed. Once it's developed, right, it's also cheap. Say, for example, let's say the ChatGPT that we use all the time, right? If you already have the model and you just run inferencing, right, actually the cost is just a very, very tiny percentage as compared to all the R&D costs that put into developing that model, right? So as long as they are cheaper and it works, it's as if asking you, Chicken, let's say if you want to go to somewhere, right? And then you look at your Uber, your Grab app showing one alternative is showing you $40, the other one showing you $28 or even $32. It's very clear one. This one, once it becomes a utility, there's no branding associated. It's just like whoever that can provide cheaper, even just 10% cheaper, people will just go into that. So let's say, imagine that, let's say Tesla's approach work, right? I'm quite worried on the other providers because they won't have a market anymore, because it's very price sensitive in this type of business. You don't care about whether you are sitting in a Tesla car or other cars, as long as it delivers you from point A to point B. So that's the real strength, is that it's all about the cost.
I completely agree with what you said. But then I wanted to go back in time again. When did the clock started when you said that they are working on this FSD to work within the few years? Is it just started or it started a few years ago? And how long will you give? How many more years would you give?
When started actually is not important. The important is when it is getting done, right?
So when are we going to put a timeline to this, or you are not going to?
June they will have unsupervised FSD already. Actually, right now today, there's already car that they want to ship their built cars from point A to point B, right? As long as it's not going to the public road, right? They will just drive themselves, right? They're already driving themselves. So there are just two things, right? One is like getting it to hit the safety level. The other thing is just approval. And by approval, I think that's where the politics connections will be helpful. But eventually, I think that one is secondary. The most important thing is that their cars must be able to drive itself autonomously and with certain level of safety. So I think that's a lot more important as compared to all the other things. Because if, let's say, people demanding 99.999% safety, but you only deliver 99.5%, although it looks like very small, but still it doesn't pass that level, right? Still cannot go on the public road, right? So to me, that one is like, not done. But how long would it take? Who knows, right? I'm fine. Let's say if someone say that, I don't think they are able to get this done within 10 years of time, and then I'll just stay away. I think to me, that's totally fair kind of sentiment, because you want to bet on things that you are comfortable and you're optimistic about, right? Some people just not optimistic on Tesla approach. And I'm not talking about general public. I'm talking about those people who are in the autonomous driving technology kind of peoples. Like, these are tech peoples, right? So they know about this view and they still strongly believe that whatever Elon is doing is not the right approach. There are people who believe so, which I think is fine. Just different opinions, right?
So
actually, I feel like there are two groups of investors, right? First, you have like Chicken. They say, okay, let's Chicken, and I think even Adam Khoo, they say, okay, let's look at the numbers. Does the number make sense? Is the company growing now? Like, okay, I need to see the net income, the revenue go up. Okay, does the company have a more this kind of thing, right? Then I think there's also another group of people who look at not just at the numbers, they look at the future. So like back then when I was learning programming, I think 2009, I was studying computer graphics. Then that's when I first heard about this CUDA from NVIDIA. Then at the time they'll say, okay, we have you go and learn CUDA and you go and learn OpenGL. But if you back then you knew that CUDA had the potential to grow big, you have like, or I would say all in, you have started investing into NVIDIA already, because it's going to go somewhere, right? The university is teaching about it. There's library being developed, there's progress on it. It will lead to somewhere someday. So that's that now NVIDIA is where it is now. It has a moat because of this whole CUDA thing. So I think same for Tesla. Like if you base on current valuation, it doesn't make sense. If you based on the future, then probably it's a good time to jump in, no? At a good price, hopefully. Yeah. So I think there's like two groups, right? And sometimes they can't see eye to eye. I think it's okay, you don't see eye to eye. Just go and invest into your more fundamentally sound companies, like what NVIDIA, Adam Khoo is doing, what S&P Global, and Visa. These kind of companies are very stable, right? Very strong, right? So I think there's nothing wrong with that.
I think the nuance also importantly is got chance to make it big. Not because one Nvidia behind got a lot of companies that also went through that growth phase, and people thought it would be the next big thing. But it all didn't turn out. It's just that you don't hear about them because you only hear about the king that won at the end. So why I'm always pinning, I'm not trying to pin Bunti to a position, but I get where they're coming from. I understand the way that he's trying to reason on why Tesla will be the ultimate winner. I get it. I'm not going against and telling you stupid, like what, Tesla is worth $20. I don't have that kind of opinion. But it's just that I just find it very hard because I can't falsify your argument. You get what I mean? Because all you can is you're building up a case, and I can't destroy the case because it's not on ground level, if you get what I mean. So in a way, the only thing I can ground you with is when you keep telling me that it's going to come in a couple of years. Okay, then we can start talking about timeline. I can pin you to something that then it comes to a point that, why is it 3 years? Why is it 5 years? Why is it not lesser, or why is it not more? So when it comes to a point where, why 15 years? Why not 10 years? Then it goes back to a feeling based, I think 10 years is too long a timeline. But okay, I hear you. I think that June, we are looking forward to a lot of unveiling, and even on the Optimus front, a lot of people are saying that why the next frontier of the robots and the humanoids, they are able to. I see quite a lot of people, I think, trying to break down the fingers, the motors, and how all these robots are going to bring in a lot of enterprise value. And I understand where they're coming from. It's just that, so how long are we talking about, or are we just going to keep giving them, saying that as long as there's progress, it's fine, it's moving in the right direction, no growth, no problem, at least the R&D is still there, or how are we going to at least falsify this argument, or is it not able to falsify at all?
Because I'm thinking, okay, one is that the idea coming from Jeff Bezos, right? So let's say if this opportunity can give you potentially, let's say 10 or 20x or even 100x returns, right? But the chance is that it's only like 10% chance, 20% chance. You still want to take that bet because the payoff is big enough. So that's his argument when talking about all these, big ideas. So for me, I'm not like loading up 100% into Tesla, right? I just load up just enough that, let's say it turned out to be 5x, 10x. It is decent number, right? So that's enough. And it is not so big that, okay, I need to count on this money, right? So if it's just like after 2 years, okay, there are some traction, but still not the so-called done phase, right? Am I willing to wait another 2 years? Maybe yes. And why? Because I like all these things that is not like, you borrow you lend your money to your friend, right? Hey, when are you going to return me the money? Soon. When you return me money, soon. That kind of soon is like you don't know one, you got no traction one, right? You can't look at their progress and to build confidence. But in the stuff that I'm betting on, right, quite often we can actually see the traction. Say for example, when I talk about, like, let's say NVIDIA, all these things, right? Their progress, the AI is going to eat the world, all these things. It is not something like a promise that you don't know what are they working behind the scene. You actually have access to all these models. There's open models. There's ChatGPT. You can try to use it yourself, and then you can piece together the capability versus some apps or some platforms that is going to develop over the next few years. You just need to extrapolate based on the current capability. Say, for example, let's say when I talk to, let's say, ChatGPT, right? I'm just thinking, oh, now I can talk to them. They sound quite natural. You can actually having conversations, ask the language model to teach you a different language. You can really do that, right? Then you just extrapolate a bit. You can start to think about, okay, if I want to book hotel reservations, right? Then next time I'm not talking to human already. I'm talking to large language model. In fact, I will just ask my assistant, which is a language model, to talk to another language model. So that kind of thing is not even something that I need to, like making up fiction story. It is something, the technology is there already. We can see that. So for FSD, I think the situation is similar because there are already people on the road that is driving using FSD. It's just that they can't remove the person away from the seats because of the regulations. But you can already see the tractions. There's a lot of all this advancement. Safety is getting better over time. You just look at 3 years back compared to today's, it's different. It's a lot better. Then you just extrapolate that for another 2 or 3 years. You can see that it is something that can be done. So I don't think it is something that is just a promise. There are some things that I will put into that category. Say, for example, like let's say quantum computer, right? I look at all those announcements from Microsoft about quantum computer. I'm totally lost. You ask me to bet, let's say like $1,000, knowing that this investment can turn out to be 100x or 1000x, right? I'm not putting my money into those quantum stocks because I can't see it. I can't test. I don't know like how long it will take. I don't know what's the applications. To me, that is like, yes, it can be something that's promising, but we're talking about 10, 20 years distance away from now. So I'm not making that kind of bet. I'm usually making the bet of like, 1 to 5 years, those short period one, because these are the things that they already have a plan. They already have the roadmap. It could be, regulatory, or it could be technological related stuff, but they are working on that. There's feasibility. Of course, there could be some hiccup, but we are talking about some 1 or 2 years kind of delay. Those are normal, but it's not something that, based on imagination.
For context, right? When do you first buy Tesla stock and around what valuation?
2020, early
That was
2020, early 2020.
so you 10x your position already, I
From
presume.
early 2020. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
it's January 2020. I forgot already. I'm not like looking at price that often.
Okay. Understand. That's just some context for viewers that are watching as well.
Hmm.
Okay. Anything else?
Nah, nothing more.
No. Maybe I wanted to make a quick comment here on the side, right? Is that actually no? I have two comments. Sorry. First comment is I think from one of the comments from Kelvin's video lah. I actually had the same question. So this user asked, in this video, you mentioned that you still have conviction in Tesla potential and growth, but only to mention you have liquidated all your Tesla position. In my view, I think that is contradicting. If your conviction in Tesla is still strong, you wouldn't liquidate all of your holdings. I can understand if you sell a percentage or choose not to add, but selling all your Tesla seems to contradict your mentioned conviction for Tesla. Any comments from Kelvin? Why not sell a portion or sell half or sell 3/4? Why want to sell all?
Why? Why? I also don't know why. I also don't know what's the correct way to take. Like, if it doesn't make sense, okay lah. Different people have different thinking, right? Like, let's say if I sell half, then some people will come out. If you have if you don't trust the fundamentals, why are you still holding? Then if you sell everything, then this kind of people will come out. If you believe, why do you sell everything? So like, is there a correct way to do this? I don't know. Like, on hindsight, everything will be clear lah. Like, but from now, I have no idea. Like, let's say I sell today $240. Tomorrow it go out to $300. Sure, but people come to my comment and say, "See, Kelvin, you are wrong." Then if it goes down, another group of people will come in. See, Kelvin, you are right. Yeah, Tesla is a bad company. So like, like, to me, the most it makes sense is like, if I don't trust, then based on my gut feel, maybe I shouldn't hold any for now lah. Just let's put in somewhere where I can sleep well, and I think that's more important lah than the returns. I don't need to rely on just one stock to get rich lah. That's what I'm going to say.
Maybe a framework I can share. I think it was Bunty that taught me these maybe a few years ago, especially when I was also very heavy into one company, is that when you look into a company's allocation in your portfolio, right? Now let's assume that you sell everything and you restart. How would you allocate your capital again? So if you still have conviction or you like Tesla a lot, and then you think that it should sit at 10 to 15% of your portfolio, then you can trim accordingly. Whether is it cut down 50%, cut down 75%, whatever the number is, the perception of here is, or the exercise it allows you to do is to not have a lot of all these anchoring bias lah, or loss aversion effect lah, or all these random biases. It's really to come out from a clean slate and say that looking at today, how would you allocate your money with the existing pot that you have? So that might potentially be one way to look at when, especially when you have a very lopsided kind of allocation to something lah. Maybe that's one potential way to look at it.
So that's
Kelvin.
why I have the ETF lah. I still hold Tesla. What? But it's indirectly, I still have some Tesla position. If you count my ETF holdings.
Yes. Second comment from myself. Looking at this development after talking to Bunti for the last in this episode, and also looking at Kelvin selling, I wanted to adopt the approach of Sean. So Sean Fu, who came up on the podcast the other time, he was saying that he bought China. He doubled down on his China exposure because he saw me and another particular China-focused creator starting to lose hope. So I'm trying to maybe apply the same principle here that if since Kelvin started selling, and I think I do have a pulse in terms of looking at some of these other people that are starting to lose hope. Maybe it's time for other people to start jumping in and start to go and explore and to look into this company as well. Maybe it could turn out well. Like this whole reverse indicator thing, you just monitor the pulse and the excitement. Maybe it could work out. I think just KIV, keep it in mind, keep in view, and we'll see how it goes. If not, I think hope you guys enjoyed this discussion, and feel free to leave in the comments below on what you think about Tesla today. And we'll see you in the next episode. And yeah, goodbye.
Bye.
One